Mark for coming, and Mark says if you'd like to say a couple words about your Maccabi experience, then we're going to have another special presentation.
Well, I got introduced to the Maccabiah experience when I was about 15 years old. A gentleman by, well, there was a guy that was in New York that was Jack Abrams. Yeah, exactly. I'm getting old. I'm 60 now. That's exactly. I kept thinking about the fun I had with his two sons, as their names came up first, actually. I was from California, and I got introduced to going to the Maccabiah games. I had just sort of broken in to my own as a senior swimmer in the United States. Made my first national team. Actually made a qualifying and got a medal actually at our national championships in the 1500 meter freestyle. And right from there in Ohio, I went to a training camp. We even had training camps, as a matter of fact. We met in the Catskill Mountains for 4 days. Everybody seen that movie, Dirty Dancing? It was just like that. Yeah, everybody had an attitude. They were, well, I had a great time, and then we went off to Israel. My experience, I can talk about at several different levels. One, it was my first time internationally to compete. And although it was at a level of competing with Jewish athletes, which was a little bit lower of a standard than I had been accustomed to competing, that wasn't what was important. What was important was that I got a chance to see other Jewish athletes from all over the world, and at 15 fell in love with somebody from Australia. Well, I think maybe I might have been more interested in the way she spoke, because the accent was overwhelming. But and then the second time I went, and I won 4 or 5 gold medals, I think it was, and there was sand in the pool. I mean, it was every night it would blow like mad in this open area, and there was all this like reddish kind of beige sand in the pool, so you couldn't even see the lane lines. And the pool started to get to be like 97 degrees because it was like 120. And it was the first time I swam internationally. It was the first time I got almost deathly sick and died from having some kind of a falafel thing or whatever it was that was from some merchant just outside the pool. Also, it was the first time I realized that don't ever volunteer for anything, which was, you don't have to stay in the village. Let's go to the new apartment complex, and it's got no facilities, no bathroom facilities, no shower facilities, but it'll allow a bunch of other people to have a better experience in the village that was the village. I still think it is the same village. What's the name of it? Club? What's it? Exactly, whatever it was. So I decided to live in this apartment complex that was like ridiculously bad. We had army cots, and it was so hot that, have you ever slept on canvas, that's dark green canvas under the sun? Anyway, but these are all experiences that I have still kept in my mind indelibly. And it was the experience of being in a country that looks totally different than what you experience today. It really truly was a desert, and the Jewish people made it green in parts only, but I was never in those parts. And I went back in 1969, 4 years later, and now I had gone to the Olympic Games in Mexico City, won a couple gold medals, was a world record holder, and I tried my best to break a world record in Israel. There had never been any athletic competition of any nature, of any sport, where a world record had been broken. I tied a world record, which, because I owned the world record, I didn't get recognized as actually officially breaking the world record because it was mine. If it wasn't my world record and I tied it, then I would have actually then tied it and I would have the world record. So I didn't quite fulfill that prophecy. And somebody asked me, well, why was that? And I go, well, there was a particular girl that was basically demanding of my attention, and I wasn't prepared to rest properly and focus. I was 19 and away from home, what can I tell you?
That's a half second, right?
Yeah. See, my experiences have nothing to do athletically. It has to do with life growing experiences. I got invited back in Leonard, what was it, 85?
Yes.
Okay. 13 years after the Munich Olympic Games. And I was given, I guess even to this day, I was given the honor of running the torch in to light the cauldron. And I was the only person ever as a non-Israeli to do that. And they had three girls? Three. Three girls that I got introduced to when I got to Israel. They were all 13 years old. And it's kind of difficult to talk about it, but all three of their fathers were one of the fathers killed in the Israeli massacre that occurred in Munich. So it was an emotional event, and how many people were in the stadium? 70,000, 60,000?
About.
And they had never practiced this, but in rehearsal, it was always in the daytime, and at nighttime they decided to turn the lights off and do this whole big candle lighting thing because of the three girls' fathers and all that stuff. And then I was then to come out and run around. But nobody ever thought that it takes about 25 minutes when they turn the lights back on for them to actually come back on. So I had this torch lit, and it was the only light around, and they were all following me. And out of nowhere, I can remember somebody grabbing me, and it was you. Saying, "You're doing a great job." So I had great experiences of being in Israel for a lot of different reasons. But the most enriching was an opportunity to express myself as an athlete, to express myself as a young man that was experiencing the same thing that other Jewish athletes were doing at the same time. And I wouldn't have had that experience had I stayed at home. And so I've always remembered Jack Abramson for having given me that opportunity. And so I've always reached out and tried to help this movement in a lot of different ways, and we have a letter that circulates back in 1975 or so. We started a letter that circulates, and it's more or less responsible. This letter that I circulate, that's on a mailing for about $4 million over a period of each 4-year cycle. So that's one of the ways that I give back. In the past, a number of years ago, in the 80s and the 90s, I did a lot more of the parlor meetings to raise money. But the new generation of younger guys have come in and done a great job. And so when Jed called me, and I was actually out of the country here up until 2 days ago, and said that there was this opportunity for this special situation, I thought this would be a great opportunity. You know, winning medals I think is important, but more importantly I think it's the act of participating. And somebody asked me, where are my medals? My medals are in a bank vault. I don't need to see them, because I know what they represent. But nonetheless, with that being said, it's important, I think, to receive one, and I understand that that might be in order.